This episode is brought to you by thedolphinwars.com.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to King Dolphin TV. This is episode 422. It is Radio King Dolphin TV. I am here with two of the not ready for pod time players, Max Redstone.
Yo.
And Anti-Derivative Jill. How are you?
Hello. Wonderful.
All right. We are waiting for Agent Pepsi 1, so we will do the intros, and she got stuck at school, so we will go as long as we can. But since this is a long reading, we will have to get started fairly soon. So in the meantime, if you love Radio King Dolphin TV, if you love the interviews that we do, if you love the Just Cuz and everything that has to do with King Dolphin TV, please follow Legatus Legionai's advice by liking, subscribing, engaging, and if you are so inclined, and share. And also, if you are so inclined, please consider helping the channel here, as Tim FKH, as Tim FKHC always says. Radio King Dolphin TV is brought to you by the tax agency of Snorty and Trike, who remind you to pay in super chats or stickers or the tip link here. And we're waiting for Snortapoopas to bring it up. And I think we will start with intros. Making sure I got everybody. There's Hey, comic, come on up. We can, maybe we can arrange for you to help with the readings. So while we're doing that, I will do the introductions. All right. We have visiting the chat. We've got Kel's Kissed. We've got Kel's Kissed. Okay. Well, we tried. And we got the Phantom Outsider visiting the chat. And then we've got the Comic Relief Crusader. We've got Snortapoopas Cuber. We've got Legatus Legionai. And finally, FKHC 2005. All right. So, okay. This is the last part of All's Fair, a Dolphin Wars novel, written by yours truly. And we've been doing this all year. We started with first, I did it way back in the day. And then I asked anti-derivative Jill, who graciously decided to help us read this. And she, if I may say, she has given Tanya Ando an amazing personality, and I can't wait to see how she does it today. And,
Hopefully, I'm consistent. Let's see.
Yep. And then we've added Max Redstone, as well as Agent Pepsi 1. So we have a great reading cast here, and we look forward to entertaining you all. So, without further ado, we will probably, Agent Pepsi 1 will probably join us as soon as she gets back from the school. But let us get started, because this is a rather long portion. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, and here we go. Part 6, Endgame, Chapter 46. At headquarters, Space Defense Force, Jupiter Command, JOVCOM, located in the IO shipyards, an intelligence officer gave a private briefing to Admiral Mitchell. Afterwards, he contacted his command staff for a C meeting. He started by saying,
"We have reliable information that the Martian forces are going to attack through the passages that they control. We can assume that they will try to conquer the Jupiter system and either destroy Bifrost or use it to invade Earth. I want you to plan an operation for the defense of the sector. Remember that we must use our own resources and we can't expect any more reinforcements from home in case they try to invade through the normal path."
After a day's planning, they briefed the Admiral on a two-pronged defense and attack plan so that they could finally take the fight to Mars. The Devil Rays under the newly formed VQW-95 will be utilized heavily in the operation. They would use one Devil Ray to infiltrate Martian space for special reconnaissance. The CAG of VQW-95 will be arriving here the next day. Vice Admiral Teresa Robinson protested because it was a suicide mission and the risk of a compromise of a Devil Ray was high. She was told that the mission stood. Jan arrived at the squadron. He noticed 3 new Devil Rays had arrived. He knew that 2 were his to bring VAQ 294 to full strength, but was curious about the 3rd. He noticed a staff car by the entrance. There were 2 Marines and an officer standing with them. The officer saluted and said,
"Commander Ando, your presence is required at Flight Div for a briefing."
"I'm scheduled to fly in a couple hours. Can't it wait?" Since he spoke to the Akai, his headaches ended, and he was itching to fly in.
"Respectfully, sir, it's not a request."
He handed Jan the orders signed by his father.
"I showed these to your XO, and they are getting a replacement for you."
Jan said sarcastically, "How thoughtful of you. Well, I guess I'm at your disposal." Jan got into his car, and they drove off. Amy went into her office. She was not scheduled to fly until tomorrow, when she would check out Captain Mackenzie, who passed a limited flight physical and was going through some training sorties as a BMO. She progressed enough, so Jan authorized her to get a check ride. She had faith that Mackenzie would pass. She started reviewing the questions that she would ask. Just then, she got a call on her secure channel. She activated a privacy sphere prior to accepting it. It was the cloaked woman. She suppressed a shiver and said,
Mistress, it's been a while. I thought you forgot about me. Cut the pleasantries, clone. The endgame is starting. Be prepared to do your role. I'll be ready. After all, I was bred for it, mistress. Good. I will be here soon to oversee matters directly.
She signed off.
And after my mission is complete, I will find you and kill you, my mistress.
Jan was surprised that instead of heading to the headquarters building, he went to his father's house. He saw his mom and dad walking out of the house wearing crisp khakis. Tanya looked flushed, and Jan surmised they had just come from bed. Immediately, Jan blocked away any compromising thoughts, but he was curious. He decided to put up the perfect sun front. When he got out of the car, he stood at attention. The first thing he noticed was that she had captain's rank. He stood at attention as the tram car sped off. He saluted and said, "Commander Ando, reports as ordered. May I say, ma'am, that captain's rank suits you?" They both returned the salute. Tanya said,
Come on, Jan. We can do without the formality for once. Give me a hug. I have a letter from Tina in my room, and I'll give it to you later.
to his credit, he gave her a warm, loving hug. He shook his dad's hand and said, "Dad, what's going on? I'll tell you about it when we go in. Sorry to pull you off a flight, but it's important. You will find out why soon." They entered the home, sat at the kitchen table, and had coffee and pastries. Jan put cream and sugar in his coffee and asked, "Okay, Mom, Dad, spill." "Mom, I thought you were still working on Chicken Hawk."
Honey, command stood up VQW 95, which will consist of VAQ 294 and 951. I am the CAG. I am also dual hatted to Jove Flight Com staff as Director of Devil Ray Operations, and we are assigned Flight Division 31.
That would be a good fit. No one knows more about Chicken Hawk than you. So when do we let those birds down? Ando said, "Another time, Jan. There'll be a special mission planned for one of the raids. You'll get a brief on it tomorrow, but I want you to think of the best crew to assign to it. And don't even think about volunteering." "Aye, aye, sir." "How will it affect our current operations?" "I'm not at liberty to tell you at this time. Now that VAQ 951 is here, they will augment you." Jan nodded in response.
Tran, honey, it's been a while since I saw Jan. I want to catch him up on the home front.
Ando nodded, and he said, "Dinner at 1900 hours then." He walked out. Tanya's smile left her face and became hard as she said,
Walk with me, Jan.
They walked out to the back deck where she set up a privacy sphere. When it was activated, she said,
You're quite the actor, son. Your father didn't suspect that anything was wrong.
"Far be it from Dad to hear from his son that his wife is a murderer and trained my late wife to stick a knife in me. Were you responsible for my jet exploding and flight training as well?" She turned red with rage, but calmed down and said,
I see that the Akai are quite thorough then.
"Why'd you let them do that to me, Mom? You know how violated I feel? It's like half of me was missing all my life."
Think about it, Jan. I'm a spy and an assassin, and as you said, a murderer. For years, I did the things in the service of the UEG. Nasty things. I never wanted to get pregnant at that time. I was content to be with your father for the rest of my life, after all the blood on my hands. The Akai told me afterward, that their DNA overrides any method of birth control, short of a condom.
So I was an accident. You never wanted me. So your whole life with us was a lie. It was all about the mission to kill Taylor.
I love your father.
Only because he reminds you of Grandpa, and doing Dad would be almost like doing him. Grandpa was the man you really loved but couldn't have. In response, she slapped his face. She hissed.
Listen, mister, I wanted you dead. You are a liability to me, but your father, bless his naive heart, was glad that he had a child coming, and your grandfather was overjoyed that he had an heir. He forbade me to kill you. He ordered me to find another way. The Akai were only too good, too glad to oblige me. Otherwise, I would have strangled you after you were born. Now, thanks to my misguided brother and sister and my bratty granddaughter, you know everything.
Much more. I suppose, Koplu, your return means that the Endgame is upon us.
Yes, it does, Commander Ando. Tomorrow we will task the Devil Ray to an overflight of Mars and the moons.
That's suicide.
Not if you pick the best crew. Don't bother trying to read my mind. The Akai taught me a lot about blocking my thoughts.
This whole thing is insane. This whole war is only for revenge. How can you be a party to this?
Maybe so. But I will do my duty, just as you will.
And what about Amy Taylor? I imagine she's your pet.
I have plans for her, my dear. Now run along. We will see you at dinner tonight. Oh, dear son, your grandpa and Ivan are taking very good care of your whore and your whelp.
Jan looked at her red with rage.
Oh, cut that indignation out. They're quite safe as long as I have your cooperation.
I am glad I am nothing like you, Cocklu.
Oh, Commander, we are more alike than you know. And no matter how much you try, if you talk to your daughter or the Akai, I will know about it. Remember, I have been at this before you were born.
Chapter 47. The next day, Jan was briefed on Operation Vampire, the reconnaissance of Mars prior to the main offensive. Jan had misgivings, but as the mission was briefed, he got into it as usual because of the challenge and started to plan it in his head. He believed it would work. He thought about contacting his daughter that could sense Tanya in his head. But he thought about contacting his daughter but could sense Tanya in his head. Outwardly, he was correct and polite, but this was primarily for his dad's sake. He only thought of her as a weeping willow. He knew that Tina and the kitten were in danger. So, he kept his own counsel. He chose not to talk to Amy outside of duty because he knew that he could not trust her either, now that her handler was here. He did not want to reveal that information to her. Ando asked him after the briefing.
So, Commander, who do you want on this mission? Let me think on it, sir.
Jan entered the squadron and looked at the current schedule and saw that the only crews that were not available were Charlie and Delta Flight. Charlie Flight was currently flying Devil Rays 103 and 106 on patrols. Delta Flight would relieve them with 101 and 105. He saw Tanya at the door, and he called the room to attention. He kept professional in her presence. Ever since their conversation at his dad's home, he kept his distance from them both. He kept trying to reach out to her with his mind, but to no avail, because her mental blocks were quite solid. He went to the podium and waited until the captain entered the room and walked to the front row and had the crews take their seats. He started the briefing.
Okay, people, the brass has a doozy for us. I will ask for 2 crews to volunteer to fly a Devil Ray for a 24-hour mission. He
was interrupted when every crew member raised their hands.
I get the message. Take it easy. You guys will get your chance to kill yourselves soon enough. We are tasked for a covert recon mission to Mars.
The hands stayed up.
Put your hands down, people. The only exempt crews are Charlie and Delta flights because they're still on patrol. What I want is the ACs to put your crew's names in the hat the XO is passing. We'll pull the crews from that. We're only using one ray for the mission, so it will be packed. Once I pull the names, I will brief them on the mission.
After they filled the hat, Commander Shipley came over and Jan asked Tanya to come up and pull the names. Jan said,
Horse and Lucky's crews are selected. Horse will be the overall commander for the mission. Rick, you decide which crews will fly what shifts. I don't want a crew flying more than 8-hour shifts at a stretch. We'll deploy 2 rays to forward operating base Kilo tomorrow. CAG, Gemini, Boats, and Caesar will take the spare home after you depart. Your job will be to get full coverage of every military installation, fleet docks, and shipyards in the system. We'll load the Night Owl recon pod in Weapon Bay 2. Weapon Bay 1 will have arms and air-to-air missiles. Those will be for defensive purposes only. I warn you, if you even fire one missile, you better not come back. And before you ask, no, you can't take hammerheads. We thought about not having a BMO because this is a passive mission. We don't want anything to compromise this mission. The CAG suggested that we can configure the station to be a repeater scope for the pod, so it's worth it to keep a full crew. People, I want to stress this is covert. Do nothing that will compromise the Devil Ray. We know that they suspect we got a shit-hot piece of equipment, and they would love to get a ray and tear it apart. I don't want us to be the ones to give it to them. Only reason I agreed to this is that the brass really needs this intelligence. Takeoff time is 0800 hours tomorrow. The Devil Ray Crews, Chapter 48. The Devil Ray Crews completed their operation flawlessly. They obtained valuable intelligence of the Martian system, which was used to plan the offensive. The plan was meant to invade Deimos and Phobos and provide a forward operating base to invade Mars. Surprise was key, as they figured that Mars won't expect an defense to meet their thrusts so soon. It was called Operation Cheetah. Ando received word of Operation Cheetah the next day, along with his promotion to the brevet rank of Vice Admiral, but he suppressed his surprise as he brought the division command staff to the conference room and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is our initial tasking for Operation Cheetah." The command staff reviewed the initial order of battle and mission objectives. McCaffrey asked, "Will we have Devil Rays?" Captain Tanya Ando said,
Count on it. We have 951 deployed to handle the defense of the Belt and Jupiter. 294 will deploy to Phobe, Kylo, to support the operation.
VQW would deploy to Halsey, Essex, and Saigon. There would be an exercise prior to deployment to mislead the enemy as to their intentions. They would conduct one dry pass at the range, then head to the carriers. The carriers will be in orbit around the base but undercover. McCaffrey would be at Halsey, Captain Hart would be on Essex, and Captain Patterson would be on Saigon. Tanya Ando would be at FOB Q. Ando's flagship would be the Essex. The deployment would begin the next day. The Division command staff briefed the leadership of the various wings and squadrons on Operation Cheetah prior to deployment. As Jan left the theater, Commander Markham went to speak to him, and he said,
Steel Eye, I need to talk with you.
"Yes, sir."
I know deep down you're a fighter pilot, and your place is in a fighter plane on an attack instead of those beasts. You can always come back to the Warhawks. We have a need for a section lead.
Hard-nosed, I appreciate the offer, but my place is my squad.
I thought that's what you would say. Good hunting, Commander.
Same to you, Commander. Soon the flight line shook with the roar of the fighters' engines. The fighters taxied to the takeoff ramp and started their takeoff run. They flew the range mission flawlessly and recovered at their respective carriers, who joined with the rest of the strike forces. The Halsey carrier battle group took the far left force. The Australia battle group was deployed on the right end. Finally, the Essex carrier group was between the other groups at the point of the wedge. The Iwo Jima amphibious ready group and the Saigon carrier strike group were in reserve to be used for the invasion of amphibians. Once the formation was complete, Task Force Alpha sortied to the Martian system. The fighter packages would go out first, consisting of a Combat Air Patrol, CAP, and the Weasels. Their primary mission was the suppression of enemy defenses so that the strike packages could hit their primary targets. CVW-40 would hit the carriers and battleships on the enemy's left wing. CVW-48 was assigned to strike the right wing. Once the command staff determined that the carriers and the battleships were destroyed or heavily damaged, the Saigon group would eliminate the rest. VAQ 294's Devil Rays had the most important assignment. Two Rays would use their ECM suites to jam all enemy communications and sensors. This would leave them deaf, blind, and mute. But when the engagement started, they would monitor the battle space. Lastly, each was armed with 4 hammerheads to handle any nasty surprises, such as death spears and swarmers. It was determined that for maximum surprise, every fighter available would launch at a chopper. The commander of the task force felt that the risk of leaving the fleet unprotected by fighter cover was more than outweighed by the effect that the fighters would have on the enemy. Besides, the Devil Ray gave it an early warning capability that could not be matched. If all 6 heavy ships were taken out of the action immediately, the enemy could not launch fighters or use their battleships' massive power to hurt them. It was also hoped that in the process of suppressing the defensive fire of the destroyers and frigates, some would be destroyed or heavily damaged. Jan went to the squadron's ready room on attack day. He saw that he currently had 2 Devil Rays in Jupiter space just outside the southeast and northeast passages to protect against any incursion. They will be relieved by VAQ 951. There was no need to provide Devil Rays in the northwest and southwest passages because they were well defended. He was tasked to launch 2 ships for the first sorties of the operation after they deployed to FOB Kilo. This was a base designed specifically for forward deployment of the Devil Rays in case they were required for rapid operations in Martian space. He was also confident that they had enough crew coverage to handle the next effort. Tanya came in and said,
Any questions before we depart?
Her Devil Ray was tasked to the right wing of the invasion. Jan was tasked to handle the left wing. When they relieved, they would deploy to to FOB Kilo. He shook his head and said, "No questions. The others will deploy to Kilo an hour after we depart. I will have Bravo section ready to do day 2 tasking. It would be nice to have more crews to handle rotation."
Well, that's what war does to you. I know you can handle it.
She kissed him on the cheek, which caused him to flinch, and said,
Good hunting, Commander.
as he programmed his pad with the mission information, the rest of the squadron came into the room. Soon, the screen showed the Halsey Carrier Wing Commander. Since they were tasked to operate by Halsey, Jan asked to have that briefing piped into the squadron so his crews knew the situation. They were told that Steele and Horst would handle command and control, and they were to handle vectoring and any calls from them as if they were coming from the carrier. They were advised that the enemy is unaware of their presence because they haven't launched caps or gotten into a defensive posture. After the briefing, Jan and Tanya briefed their crews. They would get on station at H-1 and set up their racetrack pattern. At H-10, jamming with everything they have would commence to blind the enemy and give the strike force the first hit. It would take them 2 hours to get to their orbit, so they would launch at H-3, which was 2 hours away. They would then stay there for 8 hours until relieved by backwash and land. They had 4 hammerheads loaded in the weapons bay. They would launch 1 per target as opposed to 2 because of how long they would be out there, and their priority would be the swarmers. After they briefed, they walked out to the flight line and boarded Devil Ray 105 and 106. They completed their pre-flight routine, and at H-3, they launched. Chapter 49.
Steele reached its pattern at its assigned time, and Ando confirmed that Horst was in position. By this time, the strike packages were in their fighters and started to taxi to the catapults. The process to launch all available fighters took no more than 10 minutes. The strike force joined up at the designated point and started toward the line of departure, and in the fighters, radios were quiet as every pilot kept to their own thoughts. At Essex's flag plot, Vice Admiral Ando and the commander of the carrier strike team, Captain Carty, were looking at the situation board, awestruck at the sheer size of the strike force. They turned to see Admiral Connors, the task force commander, who at the last minute decided to put his flag on Essex. Entered the room. The Admiral said,
There's a lot of fighters out there.
That's over 192 fighters on this mission.
Is there any indication we've been detected?
No, sir. Our long-range sensors show they have not launched a cap, and our countermeasures do not show that they've launched any probes or done any long-range sensor sweeps. The Devil Rays are ready to jam.
That's amazing. They are so ignorant of our presence. I can't wait to plant our flag on Demios. A staff member handed something to the Admiral, and he said, 10 minutes to H-hour. Order the task force in.
Meanwhile, Jan saw that 2 fighters took position alongside the Ray. He got on the intercom and said,
What a waste of fighters. We can take care of ourselves.
Gemini chuckled and said, Orders, Steel Ray. You know the brass is paranoid. No one wants to be the first to lose a Ray.
I know.
He looked at the mission clock and saw that it was time.
Combat check.
Bravo on scopes. Only fighters out here are ours.
Whiskey on surveillance. I concur.
Echo has jammers ready. Passive ECM sensors read clean.
AC systems nominal. H minus 10. Stalker, do your thing.
With the press of some buttons, the Martian Defense Network went totally blind. Every time they tried different frequencies, the jamming caught up with them. The fighter cap was the first to reach the area and set up in an orbit, and signaled the rest of the strike force that they were in position. The Weasels reached the intercept point exactly at H hour and started their attack. As briefed, the flight lead and his wingman started their runs at the destroyers, and 3 and 4 set up their supporting positions behind them in case any spears were launched, and then attacked the destroyers. One Weasel launched his missile when he heard the missile launch warnings, and the missile flew on their course. When their internal computer confirmed that they were in range, it launched the mini missiles, 50 small guided bomblets designed to hit any emitting device that the missile programmed into them. They hit the emitters with devastating effect, resulting in debris and glowing spots all over the destroyer. What little defensive fire was coming from the guns was manually aimed and ineffective against the two fighters. The destroyer launched spears against the fighters, but the Devil Ray's jamming pods caused the spears to either hit each other or go dead in space when they exploded after their self-destruct systems activated, which saved them from needing to launch any hammerheads. The fighters with pods handled any stragglers that the ray missed. Soon, the defensive guns from the destroyer were silent. The Weasels turned their attention toward the battleships, and as they pressed their attacks, the defenses were destroyed. As the Weasels broke from their attack runs, the strike packages attacked, and the big ships were victims of mini bomb runs. One carrier broke up and exploded from a bomb that hit the bridge, and the engines, as the battleship exploded, a third battleship was on fire and spinning crazily until it rammed a missile boat, destroying both in a massive explosion. After the relentless attacks from the fighters, the enemy carriers and battleships were either destroyed or heavily damaged. At Essex's flag plot, Admiral Connors was listening to an operations officer report the damage. The officer said, "Both carriers and 3 battleships are destroyed. 1 battleship and missile boats are heavily damaged. We are getting casualty reports from our fighters. It looks like we lost 20 fighters. I don't have specifics as to what units, but it looks like the Weasels took the hardest hits. Their armada is in disarray." Connors looked at his staff and Ando. When Ando nodded his head, he paused in thought, and after a minute said,
Let's begin. Have the carriers and the escorts follow us until they join the strike wings and have the fighters recover. The rest of the ships will engage the main body. Advise the amphibious groups to prepare to launch.
The fleet started to move past the line of departure. The right wing was the battleship group in wedge formation, and to its middle was Essex and its escorts behind the main body. Halsey was to the far left formation, and the massive fleet met the returning fighter strike force. After the battle was done, the Martian armada lost all but 6 ships, and these ships retreated into Martian space. The first phase of the battle was completed as the task force waited for the ARG to link with them so that they could invade Deimos. The remnants of the Martian Jupiter armada limped home after their disastrous defeat through the asteroid belt. The natural defenses of the belt helped the defenders, as they were able to set up choke points and force the ships of their armada into a series of ambushes, which left only 5 ships. left from a fleet of 50. As the Martian High Command received the reports of the survivors of the two armadas, they ordered the Home Defense Armada on high alert and deployed it to defend the Martian system. They also ordered the Earth Attack Armada to return home. Soon, Martian space was bristling with troops and heavy defenses. In the flag plot of Excalibur, Admiral Mitchell, spoke to the task force commanders on his plan to finish this conflict.
Here's what I want you to do. Task Force Bravo will engage the enemy at Demios and will land the assault forces on the moon. I want Task Force Alpha to head to Mars. Do not land forces until the moons are secure. I want them to hold their forces in place during the landings.
The next day, Task Force Bravo surrendered the two moons and commenced the landings. Surrounded the two moons and commenced the landings. Meanwhile, Task Force Alpha reached Martian orbit and engaged the Martian home defense fleet. The ground forces on the moons fought hard. Jan returned to FOB Kilo after the initial battle of the operation. After he debriefed, he went to his quarters. Just as he came in, he received a call from Captain Hart on a secure channel. She said, "Congratulations, Commander, on a successful first mission. What you did went a long way to get us this far. The ground forces are fighting hard, but we foresee taking the moons within a week."
That'll be great. We could use another forward operating base on one of those moons to stage from prior to the Martian landings.
I agree. Well, anyway, pass our thanks to your crew. You did great.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass it on. I assume you need something else.
Yes. Once we secure the moons, as part of the Martian landings, we will need to attack Eridana Planitia in order to destroy lines of communication heading into the capital. We want to have the Weasels in a standoff capability. We don't want to take a ray from the line. So we want to load a hammerhead on a fighting ferret. Can you think of a pilot with test and development experience who is familiar with both the fighting ferret and the hammerhead? Jan smiled and said,
As if you didn't know, ma'am.
"We can't do anything until the moons are secure. How soon can you turn over your squadron to your XO and be on transport to Essex? And don't worry, we got approval from your CAG."
Thanks for letting me know. Just give me the word.
"We're getting you a high-speed push transport to pick you up by 1900 hours tonight. They will load 4 hammerheads. Do you need anything else?"
Just 2 hammerhead qualified loaders and software techs. I'll have them with me.
Good. See you soon.
Chapter 50. Jan turned over the squadron to his XO. He did this because he wasn't sure when or if he would be back. When the transport arrived, he joined a party of 10 munitions maintenance and weapons loading technicians. They also took 4 hammerheads with them. The transport was known as a high-speed push transport. It was designed to cut down the normal trips between systems in half. It made the trip from asteroid Theta to the Essex battle group in a day. When he disembarked, he planned to make his manners with Captain Hart. When he saw her, she said,
"Tell me about mating a hammerhead to a fighting ferret."
It won't be difficult at all. When we tested the hammerhead with the Devil Ray, we were thinking about putting it on other delivery systems. The limiting factor is the size of the missile. The missile would just fit in the weapons bay of the fighting ferret. That means no other weapons can be loaded. That would leave blasters as the only way a fighting ferret can defend itself. What I propose is the flight lead would carry the hammerhead and the wingman would be in pod battle mode. I ordered my techs to modify the software in the fighting ferrets, except the hammerhead. We'll set up 2 fighting ferrets up to take hammerheads. This way we have a spare just in case. I expect them to be done in a day.
So you can fly the mission as early as tomorrow?
If you want me to.
Well, you and your team will work with the planners who are familiar with the fighting ferret as you. Take your time because I don't want them to be used until we secure the moons.
Aye, aye, ma'am. I should probably make my manners to Dad. The next day, Jan briefed the members of Talon Flight about the mission. Jan would fly as the lead. They would be assigned to suppress enemy air defenses in the Eridania Planitia. Intelligence said that there was a massive weapons depot that could be used to support enemy ground operations in the sector. Essex Battle Group commander wanted an airstrike to destroy the depot. They said that there were extensive enemy defenses in the area, so they wanted to launch VAQ 480 to suppress the area just before the strike package attack. Hart convinced them to use the Hammerhead-equipped Talon Flight instead of risking the whole squadron. They did not want to risk a double raid against the defensive belt. Jan convinced the planners to pull 2 rays closer to help in a rear echelon jamming move. He would keep 1 at FOB Kilo as a spare and pull the 3 remaining rays to FOB Foxtrot on Demos to give them 2 ships to handle 24 operations with their own spare, so they have the flexibility to handle any quick tasking. The planners wanted to keep the rays out of the Eridania operation except for jamming support. This meant that the Warhawks of VAQ 480 would need pods to handle any spheres. Talon Flight was on its way to Eridania. Jan decided to be flight lead because he could use the Hammerhead, which had the push drive removed and changed to conventional thrusters for the first strike. This was because they did not want to nuke the combat zone as the reactor would do. They had briefed that each element of the flight would divide the box into 3 10-mile by 10-mile zones. For the other elements, each element lead had arms and the wingman had the pods mounted. As Jan took his position, the ship's sensors warned him. Warning, large number of spheres heading toward flight. Jan said over the radio. This is 1 to Talon Flight. Spheres being launched. Begin pod battle modes. I need to acquire the target. His target was the surface-to-air defenses around the weapons depot. He spoke to the fighter. Initiate Hammerhead acquisition. He reached out and saw the mission would succeed, but that he would be shot down and imprisoned. Strangely, he was not surprised, but thought this could be the opportunity to end the war. The speaker started. Hammerhead battle mode initiated. Warning, bay doors will open. Warning, bay doors will open. Warning, Hammerhead lowered. Acquiring target. Target acquired. Jan kept flying a straight course as the sensors in the missile found the target. Once he saw it found it, he said first to the fighter, launch 1 Hammerhead, then to the flight. Shark away. He heard, warning, missile away, warning, missile away, closing bay doors. The missile leaped away from the fighting ferret. Just then, the fighter's high priority warning signal said, warning, missile lock, warning, missile lock, warning, missile lock, launch. Damn it. They got me, but now I can maneuver. Maybe I can break their lock. Jan said to himself as he heard, Warning, missile on range. Warning. Jan made a hard right turn to attempt to avoid the missile, but it was too late as the missile detonated near the rear of his fighter. The shrapnel shredded both engines and the control surfaces. Jan hollered over the radio, "Mayday, Mayday, this is Talon 1, I'm hit." And then he said, "Eject, eject, eject," which initiated the ejection protocol and caused Jan's escape pod to leave the carcass of the fighter. The pod used its braking thrusters to safely touch down on the ground. Jan queried the survival equipment and saw he had 4 hours left on his personal recycler, which recycled his CO2 to oxygen in his suit. He thought, "I could transform, but I don't want to reveal the Akai existence to the Martians. So I guess I do this old school." He left the pod and attempted to evade it, as it would be the first place the enemy troops would look for traces of a downed pilot. He looked around the desolate valley and tried to find an adequate hiding place until the rescued craft arrived. On board Essex, Andal heard the Mayday call over the strike frequency and slumped down in his chair. His aide came to him and said,
Sir, is there anything I can do?
"Get channels to Windsong Estate and forward operating base Kilo. I must give the bad news to my family and his squadron." On Earth, Katrina saw the shoot down in her mind and yelled out.
Daddy!
She then heard her father's thoughts in her mind. "Don't worry, little one. I'll be okay." Jan's voice calmed her down. "I'll see you soon. I have a plan."
Chapter 51. Ando saw Tina R. Ando on the screen. She was holding a little baby girl who was sucking her thumb quickly. He thought,
"This is the first time I saw her. She's an attractive woman, and she wears the eye patch like a badge of honor."
she looked stricken at the sight of her father-in-law and said,
It's Jan, isn't it?
"Yes, he was shot down in the Eridania Planitia. We have his pod signal, so we know he's alive, and we're getting a rescue effort set up. I wanted to be the one to let you know."
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
"Don't worry. I'll keep you posted. And Tina,
Yes, sir.
please call me Dad. I look forward to bringing Jan home and the two of us playing with my granddaughter."
I look forward to meeting you too.
After she signed off, he saw Commander Shipley, the acting commander of VAQ 294, on FOB Kilo and said,
"Joe, is Captain Andal there?"
No, sir. She's in Devil Ray 103. Devil Ray 103 was assigned to support the Halsey.
"When she gets in, tell her she has a priority channel to me. Please put a channel to Lieutenant Commander Taylor."
Yes, sir. He saw Amy, who showed no emotion, and said,
It's Jan, isn't it?
"Yes, Commander. He was shot down in the Eridania Planitia. We got his pod's emergency beacon, but I think he's evading right now. He has about 3 hours of recycler left."
Any chance of rescuing him?
"Not really. It looks like they have a massive number of enemy defenses, which are too much for even the weasels to handle. I had to lie to his wife to give her hope."
I think I know why. They're focusing on him, sir.
"Why?"
Admiral, you know I'm a clone of Lorena Ando. And I have all of her memories. I want to tell you the truth. Do you remember my father? You know, the president of the Martian Union?
"Yes, I believe he was a decorated war hero in the original conflict.
Yes, sir.
He was also wounded severely during the conflict."
Yes, sir. It was during the battle of the Eridania Planitia, while he was attempting to capture a downed pilot.
"Do you know what you are saying, Commander?"
Yes, sir. My father was on the ground, leading his troops to your commander when you dropped your bombs on them.
And you've known this for how long?
Amy answered, and Ando could tell all the anguish and bitterness stored in her as she continued. All my life, sir, it's hard to ignore it when your father only has one leg and arm and is confined to a wheelchair. At first, I only knew that he was wounded in that battle. When I was old enough to understand, he told me about the pilot who dropped the bombs and how that pilot was awarded the Space Defense Force's highest decoration for that. When my father found out who you were, he was obsessed with you. He educated me about it also. His legacy, I guess. Passed on the hatred to his offspring. I was trained by an assassin to kill you. When I told him I was going to the academy, he was pleased because he knew it would give me access to you. I wanted to kill the man who crippled my father. I wanted to go to aviation training because you were a pilot, but my eyes disqualified me, so I became a ship driver, and I hoped to get on a carrier. After my first year there, I enjoyed the discipline and the way of life of the Force, and almost forgot my mission when I heard that Jan was coming, so I arranged to be his tactical officer. I wanted to find out about the son of my father's greatest enemy, and perhaps figure out some way to use him to get to you, and if that failed, then to kill him. But then, something happened at the academy that I didn't expect to happen, and derailed my quest for vengeance. I tried to slip a knife into his ribs, and nothing happened. And he was unharmed. Then I found out he was in love with me. I lied, and I told him that I was in love with him. I met you and Tanya, and I found out that you weren't the monster that my father made you out to be. I also caused his flight training accident, and he survived again. Damn it. At this time, I decided I could not succeed and surrendered to him. My God, there were so many times I wanted to kill him, but instead, I slept with him and married him. In the meantime, Father continued to follow your career carefully from the time you received the Medal of Honor to when you became a Rear Admiral and commander of a carrier strike group. I am also sure he is aware that you are in the task force.
Did she ever tell Jan the truth?
Yes, but he said it didn't matter.
You mean to say this whole independence thing and this war was for revenge?
No, sir, he truly believes in independence. But I think that he might have arranged this conflict in order to get you into a position that when we broke through into Mars, he had a trap set specifically to get to you or your family.
Commander, my son trusted Lorena with his love and his innermost feelings. And you say her entire life with us was a lie? When her CO asked me about her, I gave her glowing marks. I can't believe I did that.
She looked away from him and said,
Yes, sir. There is something else, Admiral. I'm sure that when they capture Jan, you will be getting a message from my father to exchange your life for his.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Sir, you shouldn't do that. You are critical to the war effort.
Commander, you just lost any right to give me any advice. Now let me tell you something. If Jan is harmed in any way, I will devote the rest of my life to destroying you. Do you understand, clown?
she said sadly.
Yes, I do.
Amy signed off and went to her quarters and activated her private communications channel. She said,
Kaklu, I need your help Please contact me.
She then went to Exo Shipley and said,
Sir, I would like to go detach service to the Essex for any rescue attempt for Commander Ando. I think that I can be an asset, should that be necessary. Remember that I know the city like the back of my hand, and I would be able to lead the rescuers in.
Shipley said, I think everyone wants to rescue Steel Eye. But think about this. You are the duplicate of the daughter of that bastard. You might make one fine prize for them. For you, could end up leading the rescue team into a trap.
Boats. I know I can't be trusted anymore because of Lorena, but I do have an interest here, because despite my deception, I do love him, and I don't want any harm to come to him or his father.
Shipley could see the look of determination in her eyes and said, I can arrange for a support transport to leave to the Martian system tomorrow, and I will give you orders placing your TAD to the Essex battle group. Good luck, Gemini, and good hunting. McCaffrey contacted Ando, and he said, Sir, I'm sorry about Jen being missing. If there's anything I could do, let me know.
What are his chances of rescue?
It's nearly impossible, Tran. Those defenses are so dense. Even though we have bomb damage assessment that shows the Hammerhead did extensive damage, what's left is giving the weasels a tough time. It's almost as if they were put there specifically to shoot down weasels.
I think you might be right on that note.
Well, the Rescue Coordination Center doesn't really seem to want to send anything into that area yet. And even if they did, they won't get there until long after Jan's recycler is empty and he would have to surrender. His personal transponder is transmitting, but all we can do is track his position because of the troops and defenses.
Thanks, Dave. Keep me posted.
Ando turned off McCaffrey, and then Captain Tanya Ando was on screen. Her face was hard as she said,
It's Jan. Where was he shot down?
Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Eridania.
Oh God, it can't be a coincidence, can it?
No, it isn't.
Ando explained to her all about what Amy had told him.
I think with his intelligence network, Taylor knew exactly where each of us were, so he figured he would make Eridania a death trap to bring down any weasel pilots, thinking they would get you or Jan to get to me. It was just dumb luck that Jan was there instead of him being on a devil ring.
Do you think they'll harm him?
I don't think so. He wants me, not the two of you.
Tran, if he is hurt, I want to join you there. I'll ask permission to.
No, you won't, Kay. You have a wing to lead. You know as well as I do that your wing needs everyone they can get. Besides, I lost one member of my family. I don't want to lose another.
Tanya said contemptuously,
With all due respect, Admiral, my son is in enemy territory, expecting to be captured at any time. So my place is there with you.
Captain, your place is with your squadron.
but he was interrupted by a blank screen. Then he threw his pad across the room. Koklu, the cloaked woman, joined Amy later that night. With her spin's credentials, they were able to get space on the transport, and it sped its way to Mars. As Amy sat in her quarters, she reflected on what brought her to this point.
Jan, I will bring you home safely. I promise you, my love.
Chapter 52. Jan was hiding in a cage, still trying to evade capture. Damn, these guys are good, he thought, and then silently queried his survival computer. Computer, relay equipment status.
Status report. Recycler 30 minutes of O2 left. Power pack at 3/4 strength. Transponder signal nominal. No response from rescue forces.
Was the dutiful yet depressing response from the computer. Well, let's see. I have 30 minutes of oxygen in the tanks, and because of my genetics, I can go longer without oxygen, so I can hide longer. Jan thought he would look out of the cave and saw the enemy troops milling all around and searching for him, and he knew it was only a matter of time before they caught him. I won't make it easy for them. Just then, over his communicator, he heard,
Enemy pilot, you're completely surrounded. We know you only have 5 minutes left on your life support. Surrender now and you'll be treated well. You will only wait another couple minutes.
damn, and I have a wife and kid to go back to, and mom and dad must be worried sick. Jan said to himself, and then responded to the communicator, don't shoot, I'm coming out. He emerged from the cave and saw 20 armed soldiers converging on his position. He was taken to a holding dome where he stripped of his environmental suit, helmet, and weapon. His hands were bound behind him, and he was led to an interrogation area where he sat quietly until a burly soldier came in.
All right. What unit are you from and what jet do you fly?
Ando, Jan T, Commander, SDF 098-671909 was the answer Jan gave, which earned him a smack on the face, which drew blood that healed quickly.
All right, Ando, GNT. I guess we're going to do this the hard way. I already know you're from VAQ 480 of CVW 48 because we're expecting you. My superiors were wondering about your tactics and platform's capabilities.
Ando, Jan T, Commander. He received another punch which made him see stars.
Well, you're damn lucky that we have orders just to hold you. Because I would really like to see how much pain you could take before you start singing.
The soldier left the room. At New Sydney, President Taylor was awakened by a call from the warlord. The warlord said, Mr. President, I have a report from the Uridania sector. They said that they captured a pilot who was shot down.
Excellent. What have they been able to get from him?
Only his name, rank, and serial number, as usual. He says his name is Ando, Jan T. Taylor's face brightened up as he said,
I didn't expect to get one of them so soon.
Sir?
Never mind. I want him brought to me immediately and relatively unharmed.
Yes, sir. Taylor reflected on a specific vision. It was a year after he left Spins. He started to take a more active role in agitating the miners. At New Sydney, he left the mining guild headquarters. They continued to call for the Martian Governor General to accede to their demands of equitable treatment or step down. They also continued their demand for independence. The grassroots movement was starting, and he was gratified. He thought to himself,
When you do not understand that the movement transcends everything.
as he walked down the street to his car, he stopped to see what he thought was the most beautiful woman in the world. She had curly brunette hair and large green eyes that penetrated the soul. She looked very fit, and it looked like she was no stranger to hard work. He walked away from her and reminded himself that women were dangerous all he had was his crusade. As he walked by, she followed him, and in the most sensual Eastern European accent she said,
Please, Mr. Taylor, I would like to interview you.
Interview me for what, pray tell?
He said disdainfully as he imagined her in his arms and kissing her. He wiped the image from his mind and said,
I do not talk to Earthers.
I represent the Italian Workers' Party. We are most interested in your story, for we sympathize with your cause.
You hold me at a disadvantage. What is your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Maria Borgia. I'm a reporter.
Well, Miss Borgia, let's go to my office.
He lay in bed listening to water flow from the shower. He knew that it was fate that brought this goddess to her. He looked fascinated at the strange birthmark. It looked like a perfect tattoo of a dolphin. She came out in a robe and poured 2 glasses of water. She said,
You, sir, were wonderful. I never met a man like you.
I never did anything like this before. As you know, my cause is my life.
I am so glad you found me worthy of you, sir.
No, I am unworthy of you.
he noticed her dress.
Must you leave?
He asked.
Unfortunately, my love, my assignment ends tomorrow, and I have to get the transport back to Earth.
Will I see you again?
Anything is possible. She handed him a flash drive. Here is the story that I want to write. Please read it and give me your input. My mail is weepingwillow@workernews.it.
Before we go on, hello, Agent Pipsy 1.
Hey, I am so sorry for being late. I got detained at work.
Okay.
Damned kids.
Darn kids, yeah. We are on page 32 of the script.
Okay, hold on. Let me get to 32. Okay.
Okay. Jill, continue.
I think this is Max's line, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, it is.
Do you know any Vietnamese, my love?
Oh, wait a second. No, he said,
Oh, no,
Weeping
okay.
Willow. That's a
Okay.
lovely name.
Yeah.
It's my father's pet name for me.
She finished dressing and left. He continues to see her when he could, and after that, until the war. Just before the war started, he asked her,
Do you know any Vietnamese, my love?
Some. I did a research project in Hanoi about Viet Minh. I was very impressed with their capability to survive crushing blows from 2 of the major powers of the mid-20th century.
Well, I have a new name for you. Kok Lu,
Very pretty. What does it mean?
Weeping Willow.
Oh, my love, I will cherish that name forever.
she kissed him, and they made love. He didn't see her again until after he was wounded in the war, and she visited him in the medical center where he was treated. She felt bad for him and helped him to recover psychologically. On board Essex, the task force commander came to Ando's office as he was reading the latest debriefs. The invasion of Mars started, and the first news was promising as the reports of ground forces were pushing back the militia troops at the Olympia sector with the assistance of many waves of aerial bombardment. He smiled, knowing that CBW-40 was doing its job with the loss of only one plane, which was so badly damaged upon landing that it was now turned into a source of parts for the squadron. He was also impressed at the performance of the Devil Rays, which have pretty much stopped the long-range threat to the mission packages and enabled the wing to concentrate on normal air support. The Aerodana front was another matter entirely. Even though the enemy was being pushed back by the ground forces, they were doing it under dubious air support, especially in the valley. The massive defensive belts in that region had forced him to cancel weasel operations in that area, and as a result, the flight commander of the task force had to order the air support to higher altitudes. Andor was looking at the reports of the 40th Wing and was proud they were able to rise from the ashes of despair and conducted their mission in an outstanding manner. The task force commander entered his quarters. Andor said, "Evening, sir. First reports are divided, for it seems like the invasion of Mars is a stalemate."
That's good. And do you have any word on your son?
No, sir. I got word from the rescue control center that because of the situation, they had to suspend all rescue operations in that area, and I just got word that his suit transponder stopped transmitting.
And of course, subcutaneous transponder is too far to be tracked.
If it's still in him, Admiral, I respectfully request to be relieved of my duties as your flight component commander. Under the present situation, I don't think I can be an effective leader. He then explained the situation between Taylor and himself. I think once he finds out he has Jan, he will attempt to use it for revenge.
Look, Tran, we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. In the meantime, I need every combat commander I have, so permission is denied.
Yes, sir. Changing the subject, he said. Admiral, I think that my staff might have a way to break the stranglehold in the Aerodania sector, and as soon as I get briefed on it, I'll let him know. He nodded and left. Jan was bound in restraints and blindfolded, led out of his cell and taken to a special facility where he was stripped naked and given an injection which did nothing to him. They placed him in a sensory deprivation tank. Then the guards took the tank to a land transport that was waiting. Once the tank was loaded, the transport sped along a camouflaged route until it reached the spaceport. The tank was then loaded into a shuttle, which lifted off with 4 similar shuttles and their escorts from the planet's surface. On board Devil Ray Lantern 1, the BMO monitored the shuttle's launch and reported it to the Essex, which relayed the information to the Rescue Control Center. Andor was reviewing the staff's plan to break the deadlock in the newly named Valley of the Shadow of Death when he received a message from Connie Hart, who was in the RCC. Andor said, "Report, Connie."
We just received word that 4 shuttles, each with an escort of 4 fighters, left the surface an hour ago. We tracked 1 shuttle's arrival to New Sydney.
I guess the other 3 were there to decoy us from attracting them because we wouldn't know which one was on. They're keeping 1 step ahead of us. Keep me posted anyway, and when you find out something, you have my priority channel.
Lantern 1 wants to go to Mars to help out. They think they can put a hammerhead in New Sydney in advance of a special ops team.
Negative. I will not risk any raid for 1 man.
He is their commander, after all, sir.
That's an order, Captain. She thought for a second and then said reluctantly,
Aye, aye, sir.
Agent Pepsi 1, can you narrate chapter 53?
Yeah, I can do that.
Give Jill a break.
Okay, it says Jan was drifting in the sensory container as it was traveling towards its destination. He spent his time talking to his daughter and the Akai about trivial matters, so he kept them entertained. Just then his mother showed up in his mind and reassured him that they are working to free him. He said to them all,
It is okay, Mom. I know what I have to do.
he then closed his mind before they could ask any other questions. After what seemed an eternity, he was removed from the container although he was still blindfolded. He was placed in a wheelchair and led down the path he had stopped. He heard a voice say,
Welcome, Commander. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
I am sorry to have kept.
he was interrupted by a shock stick to his kidney.
No, Commander. It is not nice to interrupt your superiors. As I said, I have been waiting for you for a long time. I have every intention of telling you a story which involves you. But first, let me introduce myself. Major, undo his blindfold.
The officer undid the blindfold as Jan flinched from the bright lights. As his eyes adjusted to the light, he focused on the man in the wheelchair. Jan saw that the man had a patch on his left eye, only the right arm and no legs.
We're related, you know, my son-in-law.
President Taylor.
Yes, and we are related in more than one way. Let me tell you my story because it involves you. It goes all the way back to a bloody conflict you call the Miners' Rebellion, but my people call it the First Martian War of Independence. Did you know that I was involved in that war? I was a lieutenant colonel in command of the 55th Infantry Battalion. You should have seen me. I was strong and vital. I had a beautiful girlfriend, Kok Lu, and I was going to marry her after the war. And we believed in our cause. My unit was designated to Eternia Planitia, and I see from that expression that you recognize that valley. We were ordered to hold the line against enemy counterattacks as the second echelon resumed the offensive. We knew our home front was tired of war, and if we won or made it too costly for your side, they would want to surrender. We had a stalemate against the enemy, so they decided to use air power. They had a massive strike plan, and they were relatively effective. However, our Air Force was holding them back. And then, over my area of operations, I saw an enemy formation take on our fighters. One of the enemies was shot down. I understand that he was a carrier wing commander, and a relatively ineffectual one at that. He acted stupidly, and I was the one who saw his chute descend. I figured that taking an enemy pilot captive would be a great blow for their morale while providing a boost to our forces. I ordered our unit to capture the pilot, and I took the lead. As we approached the pilot, I failed to notice that the pilot's wingman had already beaten back our fighter forces. And now he was going to bomb my troops. My troops! We never heard the fighter come in. And the next thing, I was in the explosion, shredding my voice. That was the last thing I remember when my world exploded around me. Some of the survivors of the explosion picked me up and took me to a medical facility before I either suffocated or bled to death. Our medical personnel saved my life, but I lost both my legs, my left arm, my left eye. You know, I had to do what I had to do in order to have my future wife bear our children. I had to have her artificially inseminated. I could not make love to her. I was evacuated from the war zone, back to Mars, just as they signed the armistice, and I was in the convalescent ward with my lover. I knew I was saved for only one goal, revenge, which is all I had left. I was awarded the highest award that militia awarded, but it was not enough. I began my journey by first entering the political arena and becoming an accomplished politician. I was promoted to the diplomatic corps, where I had the honor to negotiate the Milan Accords. I then researched anything I could about the Adania engagement, with the goal of finding the pilot who crippled me. I was lucky because I found out they awarded that murderer the Medal of Honor. Yes, it was your father. Once I knew who the pilot was, I began my quest for revenge. I used my considerable connections to ensure that I had the most accurate intelligence of his career and personal life. At the same time, I planned my revenge meticulously. First, I ensured my wife became pregnant after I was well enough to donate my seed. My daughter was born just as I received intelligence that Ando had married that beach levy.
Oh my goodness! Jan interrupted to lunch. Oh, one more time. I am sorry. Jan interrupted to lunge. That butt was stopped by another shot.
Now it's impolite to interrupt your elders. Now, as I said before, I found out that he was married and knew that there would be a matter of time before they would bear a child. That would be my route for revenge, and I ensured that my children would be the tools. My son was born just after you were, so my daughter would have to do. I started to teach her everything about the battle and your father. I could not play with my children, but I had someone special to educate them and train my daughter. I knew that your father and mother would instill their values in you, and you would follow in their footsteps and would be assured a position in the Space Defense Force Academy. As my daughter was ready to enter the academy, I negotiated the SDF reorganization amendment to the Milan Accords. Besides putting former militiamen in the SDF, it also allowed one slot from Mars to enter the academy. My daughter chose to go to the academy. I expressed my shock and dismay outwardly, but I hid my pride because she did exactly what I wanted her to do. I wanted her to eventually be assigned to Ando, wherever he may be stationed, so that she would be able to complete my revenge like the dutiful daughter that she is. Her eyesight disqualified her from flight duty, to our disappointment, because she wouldn't be in the flight force. But I felt my revenge may not happen. She bided her time until she knew that you were going to be a plebe, and that she applied to be the tactical officer for your squadron. It was my intention to kill you when she had the opportunity. A couple of things got in my way. First off, you thrived on the harassment that she heaped on you, and that made you a better student. And secondly, she fell in love with you and failed to kill you. I was ecstatic about her falling for you, but I had to show her my displeasure. These developments meant that you could get her close to your father. What I didn't expect is that she would marry you, and then that's when I disowned my daughter, because love makes oneself weak. She let herself get diverted from the cause. How does it feel to know that your wife used you for revenge? You must hate her.
I knew she was being manipulated and used by you for your insane desire for revenge. She was changed being with you.
He ignored Jan and said,
After she betrayed me, I decided it was time to take a more active role for my revenge. When Bifrost was activated, I used that as a pretext for a preemptive strike against the SDF. I don't care about Bifrost itself. I knew that my forces would not be a match for yours, but we could bog the enemy down in protracted combat in the asteroid belt and eventually come to Mars, where I decided I would lure your father's forces to Eridania. I can see that it worked beyond my wildest dream. I was looking for that bitch mother of yours, but you are a better prize.
he said to the officer.
Take him away.
The major ordered 2 soldiers to take Jan away.
And you can-
Hold on, it's my turn. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Chapter 54. It goes, Ando walked into the battle staff meeting and took his seat, and his face betrayed no emotion or uncertainty about his son. And when he said to the staff,
All right, people, brief me on this plan.
Brigadier General Morgan, the ground operations planning chief, briefed him on a maximum effort defense suppression strike in 2 waves. They would use the devil rays in the point of the spear. The devil rays would be armed with hammerheads and arms, which would give them the ability to attack enemy defenses as well as jam and take care of any spheres. The wing would be armed with regular arms and CBUs. The composition of the first wave will be all 3 available devil rays escorted by 2 fighters each. Then all of the CVW-48 and VFA-42, the Weasels, will have no sphere pods and their full range of ordnance to bear. There would be a second suppression wave led by VAQ-23, and Ando interrupted.
I don't want the devil raids near the front line.
But, sir,
I know they're the best craft we have, but I will not risk them. Find another way to use them.
Admiral, this is because your wife commands them?
General, my personal life is no business of yours. I do not want devil rays at risk.
Aye, sir. But with the hammerhead's push drive, they won't be. Just as Ando was going to report to that statement, the task force commander's executive officer entered the room and he said,
Excuse me, Admiral. We're getting an all channels communication from Mars.
Ando nodded his exec, and they saw President Taylor. Taylor said,
Attention all Martian militia and space defense force. Effective immediately, I am using my authority as President of the Martian Union and Commander-in-Chief of the Martian Militia, and I'm ordering a unilateral ceasefire. All Martian militia personnel are ordered to stand down. You are not to continue any operations in the theater except in self-defense.
and the screen went blank. General Morgan asked, Admiral, what does this mean?
This was a message to me. It means he has my son, and he's putting the outcome of the war on me. I'm going to see the commander. Order a stand down of all offensive flight operations. Keep defensive flight operations going, and keep the devil rays on station.
Ando stood up and walked out of the room. Ando entered the task force commander's office. When the commander acknowledged him, Ando sat down. Ando said,
Admiral, what's the quid pro quo?
He sent this secure message afterwards.
He activated the screen and Taylor was there. Taylor said,
To the senior command of the task forces, in order to keep the peace, I am making the following demand. Rear Admiral Tran J. Ando is to board the transport that is heading toward the Essex under a flag of truce. He will be treated with respect to his rank. If he is not on board the transport within an hour of its arrival, hostilities will continue. This is non-negotiable. To Ando, your son will be released upon the time you arrive on New Sydney. That's all, he said. You know, when I denied you permission when I denied you permission to leave to find your son, I had no idea that he would put the fate of the war in your hands.
I'll be packed and ready by the time it gets here.
One thing, though. I don't want to give the enemy such a high-ranking prisoner of war, so I'm ordering your immediate demotion to your permanent rank of Rear Admiral, lower half. If you return to us alive, I'll consider giving you the permanent rank of Rear Admiral, upper half.
I understand, sir. I need to let my staff know the change. Are there any orders?
Keep planning for offensive operations and keep the caps and support mission flying, but other than that, I don't want any provocative motions during this ceasefire.
Yes, sir. By your leave.
The commander nodded his head, and Private Ando left the office. I'm sorry. Ando went to his office and called for his senior staff and sent the senior flight commander, R.A. Richards, his vice commander, Brigadier General Morgan, and the director of ground operations, and Captain Hart, the chief of staff. When they entered the room, he said,
I've been relieved. I can't reveal too much of the circumstances, but it's effective immediately.
He handed a PDA to Richards.
George, it's been a pleasure. The command is yours.
Richards nodded.
I've been privileged to serve with such an outstanding staff. Keep providing the commander with what he needs. I hope to see you all again.
After they departed his office, he changed his rank and left the office. At the appointed time, Ando was waiting with Rear Admiral McCarthy at the airlock for the transport to dock. When the green light signaled that they had docked and were ready to receive him, he turned to them and said,
It's been an honor serving with you, Dave. Keep up the good work. I might see you again. You can never tell.
He shook their hand, and when the airlock opened, he left. He entered the transport and was met by the ship commander and 2 security officers. They went to attention and saluted. Ando returned the salute and said,
Permission to come aboard, sir.
With barely restrained contempt towards the enemy, the commander said, Permission granted, sir. I am Captain Parnell, and we have orders to treat you according to your rank. We have flag officers' quarters ready for you. Please come with me. He entered. As he entered the ship, he heard over the ship's intercom, flag officer arriving. Ando thought,
You are giving me full military honors. What are you up to, Mr. President?
the transport departed Essex and started its journey to Mars. Taylor ended his rant to Jen and said,
So, Fate gave you to me so I can avenge myself on Tranando. The cloaked woman, my love, Koklu, foresaw this just as she helped me all these years. She told me that I would have power, and now, after all this time, I would have revenge.
Just then Jen realized that he was sent here just for this purpose. He just realized that his wounds and the years that passed made Taylor insane. He also knew that his mom was manipulating him all the time and making him even crazier. He never put the pieces in place to figure out that he was the victim of his own machinations. He reached out, and what he saw made him smile. He contacted Tanya and said in his mind,
I can make this work. If it doesn't work, I just want to say I love you, Mother, and thank you for the gifts you and the Akai gave me. I will not let him get bothered. I will transform if I need to save him.
He tried to follow the rant about how his mother helped Taylor's wife conceive after he was crippled through the donation of his sperm. How he and Kong Lu indoctrinated Lorena to become a weapon of revenge against Ando. During that time, he kept himself centered and waited for his opportunity. He calmly said,
Mr. President, if I may speak.
Just before he received another dose of the shot stick, Taylor raised his hand and nodded.
Sir, I first wanted to go on the record to say that I loved your daughter, Lorena, with all my being. Her death devastated me for some time. I moved on. Now I have a wonderful wife and a fantastic daughter, and I intend to be there for them. I realize now that you can't live in the past. Unfortunately, you, sir, have always been unable to move on. You can do with what you want with me, but I'd like you to realize that. I'm sorry that you will miss out on having a granddaughter, but she died with Lorena.
He saw Taylor's face become stricken at the news. He heard in his mind.
Great work, Jan. I knew you had it in you, my son.
Mom, please let me do this my way. He continued, Sir, if I may be so bold, your anger is misplaced.
Taylor scoffed.
Nonsense, you lie. Your father is at fault. Watch your words. I will make sure you die painfully, whelp.
Sir, I have a gift. It's hard to explain, but I foresaw our conversation here and the outcome. What I want to do is break this cycle of hatred and end this war before more people die. I know you have a device called the Armageddon Sanction.
How do you know about that?
I know that is a series of prepositioned nuclear weapons to be used as the final failsafe to prevent defeat. Sort of a suicide device. You cannot use it.
Listen, whelp. You do not give me commands.
No, I cannot. But please listen. Long before I was born, you had a dear friend. He was like a brother to you, named Wen Ando.
That name means nothing to me.
I thought so. You became so bitter after the war that you blocked out the true cause of your wounds. You were Ando's friend, confident, and godfather to his only son, Tran, the very same pilot, bombed you.
No! Damn you, you lie!
Jan could see the recognition start to break through the insanity. He continued his smoothing tones, knowing that this was an ability that he had all his life. He kept his daughter from killing him and his family.
Yes, sir. But you were a nationalist, and when the man you considered a brother crossed the line, and you never forgave him, so you had him tortured and maimed. That should have been enough. But then you crossed a line yourself and murdered his wife. The ironic thing is if you found his son, all this would have never happened and you would have been whole. But I digress.
Yeah, Tanya thought.
Perfect, baby boy. I could not have done it better myself.
Jan took a deep... Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Jan took a deep breath and paused as he saw Taylor hold his head in his hand. When he composed himself, Jan had asked permission to continue. He said,
It was Nguyen, my grandfather, who arranged for the cloaked woman to be the power behind her throne. So,
okay, his intuition kicked into overdrive as Tanya let him probe her memories.
she made love to you and spurred you to fight for independence. She suggested that you fight that one battle in that one place where they knew my father would be in. Yes, they used him as a tool for revenge. But if I may say so, your hatred is misplaced. Please end this, so no more lives are lost needlessly.
Recognition dawned in his eyes, and he whispered,
How do you know about all this, boy?
Do you know the cloaked woman's name?
Cocklu.
The Weeping Willow.
Yes.
She became the protege of my grandfather just after you crippled him.
You lie.
No, sir. I speak the truth.
Jan noticed out of the corner of his eye that the guards had left the room. It was as if they knew it was a battle of wills between him and Taylor.
No matter what missions she did on the side, her main goal was to infiltrate and gain your confidence, to guide you, to do things you normally would not think about doing. This was for the sole purpose of trapping you and crippling you, an eye for an eye. So after you were wounded, she had an implant placed in your brain so that you could communicate with her directly from then on.
No. She was here. I know it.
Just then a security officer came in and said, "Mr. President, there was no cloaked woman that was ever seen here. We have video and audio recordings that show you talking to yourself. Please come with us, Mr. President. We will take care of you." As Taylor was led away, he asked,
How do you know about the Weeping Willow?
Sir, she is my mother, Tanya Iandel.
Taylor screamed so loud and long, he had to be sedated and taken away. As the security guard started to untie him, he asked,
What will happen to him?
the guard said, I think the stress of the war, as well as your revelations, were too much for him, and he cracked. He was unstable, and we had him under surveillance for quite some time now.
How long?
Since before the war. Jan looked surprised and said,
You mean you could have stopped this insanity before it started 3 years ago?
I would suggest that you watch your tone, Commander. You are still a guest here, and we are only in a ceasefire. There are many in the militia that wanted war. President Taylor said all the right things to those hawks. Perhaps we should have realized, Tanya said.
That was magnificent. You would become an outstanding operative.
No, Mother, I am not as ruthless as you. I did what you wanted. Please let my family go.
Done. I'm so proud of you, my love.
And what about Amy?
She has her own path. She is no longer your concern.
In my mind, I saw Cockaloo and Amy walking the streets of New Sydney. They both were wearing cloaks. She turned to Amy and said,
Continue your mission.
But if the war is over?
The mission is not. Here is where we part company. Be well, Amy Taylor. We will not meet again.
Amy turned and left. Katrina said,
Hi, Grandma. Katrina, it is good to see you.
We are here as well, Sister Tanya.
She saw a kite floating in front of her.
We are proud of you, Brother Jan. You stopped further bloodshed.
It was all my son's doing. He is an idealist and a good man. You betcha he's my daddy.
It is time for us to go home. We have satisfied our curiosity here and wish to explore more.
I'm sorry to hear that, Trev and Akia.
Do not be, Sister Tanya. You are our sister and we love you. Come with us, and we will give you the universe.
After all I have done,
This is what we do. You are our sister.
then I will go with you. Katrina, be well, and take care of your mommy and daddy. Jan, would you like to go with me?
Mother, as much as I would love to be with you three, I have a wife and daughter to go back to who I love very much.
Yay, Daddy is coming home.
Yes, I am, sweetie.
Jan, my love, I want you to be well and remember me. Tell your father that I love him.
I will, Mother. Be well.
The bridges glowed. The bridges glowed brightly and went dark. She was awash in a white glow, and then she disappeared. The two Akai were joined by a silver dolphin, and together they swam the currents of the spaceways. R.A. Tran Ando walked into the room under escort. Ando said,
Oh my God, Jan, you're alive.
yeah, Jan ran to him and they embraced.
Oh God, Dad, I am so glad to see you.
Both had tears in their eyes as the fourth person entered the room. He was dressed in a business suit and stood there as they composed themselves. Jan said,
Dad, I think this man wants to see you.
Ando turned to him and nodded.
I'm Rear Admiral Tran Ando. President Taylor wished to see me.
I'm President of the Senate, McDonald. President Taylor is indisposed and he will be hospitalized.
Oh,
Let's just say the stresses of the war were too much for him. I'm empowered by the Martian government to communicate the terms to end this conflict. Who can I speak to?
if I can have a communications terminal, I will contact the task force commander. He has the authority to negotiate.
Very well.
Yeah, he pointed to the terminal on Taylor's desk and tapped out the code so Ando could speak to the fleet. Ando spoke to the task force commander, Admiral Connor. Connor addressed him as Vice Admiral, which meant that his rank was reinstated. Admiral Connor ordered him to arrange for them to fly to the Essex under a flag of truce. A shuttle under the SDF fighter escort would arrive at the city by the hour. When they left, the Martians would be allowed to have a fighter escort of their own accompanying the shuttle to the carrier. McDonald could have only one person accompany him. When Ando gave him the terms, McDonald ascended and went to make the arrangements. As Ando and Jen waited at the shuttle port, Ando said,
Jan, your mother disappeared. When I gave her the news, she went ballistic when I ordered her to remain in Romanta's lair. Next thing I heard was that she took off in a shuttle. They haven't been seen since. I'm worried.
yeah, Jen said,
Dad, I have to tell you something.
yeah, he told his father everything he found out about his grandfather Win and his mother Tanya. He told him the story how Win was a partner of Johann Taylor and how he was betrayed and maimed by Taylor. How Taylor and Tran's mother killed. How Taylor and Tran's mother. How he started on a quest for revenge that led Win to recruit his wife and make her into one of the most dangerous agents in the UN. Yeah, Endo slumped and put his head in his hands. With tears in his eyes and rage, his voice trembled. He asked,
How did you know all this, Jan?
Jen answered by mentioning the alien's Akai and how his mother was experimented on before he was conceived. The result of this was his instinct and his telepathic abilities and the ability to transform into their true form. The telepathy was shut down on his mother's request and was lost until recently. Ando looked at him in disbelief and horror until he said,
You know, son, if I didn't have experience with your instinct, I wouldn't have believed you at all.
Okay. Lou.
After Taylor broke, Yakai invited her to a result. Katrina and I lost our telepathic abilities. I still have the instinct, though.
Okay, he went quiet and he saw his father try to deal with the feelings of hurt and betrayal. He told him that Tanya loved him, but Ando didn't want to hear any more and raised his hand to dismiss him. The shuttle landed and they all boarded the craft, which sped off to the Essex. When they had arrived at the carrier, they received the news that Taylor had died in his hospital bed because of a heart attack. Okay, yeah, Jen had, y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Jen had foreseen this, but kept it silent. As a result of his death, MacDonald was made the interim president of the Martian Union and continued the negotiations. The terms of the armistice were very generous, and the president accepted the pending final peace deal. As a gesture of good faith, MacDonald gave the SDF the use of some buildings to set up an interim command. The mission of the task force was over. Andrew was offered a choice of either going back to Thunder Base and reverting back to the Rear Admiral or taking command of Flight Mars. Ando, having decided that he had nowhere to go, accepted the new command.
Epilogue.
This is the end of the beginning of my story.
President Taylor went to the hospital for stress related to cancer. The generals wished to continue the fight and wanted to use nuclear weapons. The Congress outvoted them, and to save what they had, surrendered to the Space Defense Force. The commander of the Jupiter sector, Peter Mitchell, and his staff had arrived on New Sydney to meet the interim president, former VP MacDonald. President MacDonald asked for the terms, and Mitchell, acting for the UEG, gave it to them. Deimos and Phobos would be under SDF occupation. Free travel through the Martian system would be guaranteed, but monitored by the SDF. Mars would not have any more than 50 ships of the line for defensive purposes only. Death Spears and Swarmers were outlawed. Mars is prohibited to possess any weapons of mass destruction, and their nuclear weapons would be confiscated. The planet would not be occupied. However, 2 new stations would be placed in Mars orbit to ensure they kept their end of the armistice. The independence of the Martian Union was formally recognized. They were told that there was a seat in the UEG if they wished. When faced with these generous terms, President MacDonald confirmed with the leader of the Congress and the commander of the Martian militia. On 28 February 2163, they signed the armistice. The war was over. With the war over, the Space Defense Force began the process of ensuring peace. A new Third Fleet returned to Mars to become the core of a new MarsCom. President Johann Taylor was in the process of being committed to a mental health facility when he suddenly had a heart attack and died. The autopsy determined that the cause was the intense stress that he was under, along with the residual pain from old wounds. When Ando heard about the end of the war and the death of Taylor over the news, the day after he received the message, he died of natural causes. Autopsy stated that his body just gave out from old age and his old wounds. Tanya Ando disappeared and was reported as MIA, presumed dead. She was given full military honors at a memorial service at Jerusalem and Da Nang, attended by friends and family. Tran blamed Nguyen for the death of his mother, and he refused to attend the reading of the will. He stayed in the Space Defense Forces. He was promoted to Admiral and selected as MarsCom. He would later be promoted to Space Defense Force Commander. Rear Admiral Dave McCaffrey remained as commander of 31st Flight Division until his retirement. Captain Hart became CAG of CDW 48, later promoted to Rear Admiral and became the division commander at Thunder Base. Commander Markham was promoted to captain and put in charge of VAW 95, the first Devil Ray wing in SDF. Tina Ando had reconstructive surgery to repair the scars on her arm and leg. She kept the eye patch to remind her of what she lost during that war. After the war, Jan Ando continued commanding his Devil Ray squad. He was promoted to command VQW 95. After his term, he left active service and became a reservist. He was named in the will as the sole heir of Ando fortune. He became CEO of Eastwind Holdings. He had triplets with Tina, 2 daughters and a son, who were named Lorena, Ariana, and Luann. Jan and Katrina's abilities left them the day the war ended. Katrina became a chatty, intelligent, inquisitive child with dreams of entering the academy like her father. Peter Porter became CAG of VQW 52. Lieutenant Commander Amy Gemini Taylor was missing and presumed dead the day the war ended. The Akai continued to use the universe as their playground with their sister Tanya.
What I didn't know at the time is that somewhere out in the middle of space, some years from now, a dark form emerged from a nebula and opened its eyes and recited,
The abominations and those who spawn them must die.
"My story continues."
And that is the end of All's Fair, a Dolphin Wars novel. Thank you to the not ready for pod time players. I think this was great. I thought it was great. What do you guys think?
Yup.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was good. It was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And it's, once again, I'm sorry for being late.
Oh, don't worry about it.
You arrived just in time.
Those
Yes.
damned kids.
Those meddling kids.
Yeah, they were decorating the cafeteria because the football team is in the state finals. So,
Okay. And let's see. I put a poll out there. And if you guys, if anybody hasn't responded to the poll, please do it while I do show notes.
It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. Yeah, with Mr. Reagan and Sandra too. It's time for show notes. We're bringing it on. It's time for show notes. You've all been warned. It's time for show notes.
So let's do the Snortopopus farewell. Here goes. Take care, every human, dolphin, doggo, Dalek, ferret, eagle, hedgehog, and kraken. TM, a wholly owned subsidiary of the DolphinWars.com. And let me show you said kraken. Let's get cracking to show a kraken. Tell me Gumby hits Snortopopus. Yeah. Gumby hits Snortopopus. Let me try something. I guess Twitter's decided it's going to get gumbied. All right. Here is the Kraken. There is a Kraken from Snortopus.
Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Okay, and
Well,
pop culture breakdown is on. So, and if you've enjoyed this, like, share, sub, chat, comment, engage, enjoy, cheer on, donate, and bribe the bear and the dog. I like that one. Bribe the bear and the dog. Buy, read, and listen. All right. Thanks, Legatus. All right. So, show notes. We got Just Cuz coming up this weekend. A week from tonight, we will have a Thanksgiving Eve show. We'll have some cooking with Sandra as we prep a festive meal for Thanksgiving. And you know when cooking for Sandra's on, it's going to be yummy. On the 3rd, we'll do Fantastic Four reviews. And I don't have much going on until the Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve shows. Oh, yeah, and the Slappies. I got to figure a date for the Slappies. We got to do the Slappies. 3rd annual Slappy Award. So we will, that's what's coming up on show notes. All right, now, okay, let's see how the poll went. Okay, so the poll was, should the not ready for pod time players do Peacemaker next year? And the yeses were unanimous at 100%. Let's see how many votes we get. We had 11 votes, all saying they want to hear Peacemaker. You think we could do it, guys?
Yeah, I mean,
yes, let's go.
Yeah, do Peacemaker. Okay, we will come up with that next year. Peacemaker. All right. Yeah. Gaddis also says return from a one. All right. So because of the length of this one, I didn't say hello to everybody at the beginning, but now I will. We had Crouching Tiger, or Crouching Taylor, hit it Swift. We had Kel's Kissed. Welcome. Glad you were here. I hope you enjoyed the show. And let's see. We had Marcelo Lopez. We had Phantom Outsider. Okay, I'm looking to see if anybody else. Okay. All right. And let's see. We had real Wade Nation gaming clips. Thanks for being here, Wade. And let's see. Now ready for the lifeguard corps. Sandra was able to make it here. Hi, honey. Welcome. Our producer. And fortunately, we didn't have too much of a Gumby issue, honey. And Tripe was here, but we all know that. Okay. We had FKHC 2005, Meme Master, and and the market agent for the Snorty and Trike collection agents. He's the marketing director. We had Legatus Legionii. Please do what he says. Please do what he says. We've got the Comic Relief Crusader who came by. And finally, the biggest, baddest bear on YouTube. Snorter Poopas! Cuber. Dot scream. Hashtag roar. Looking quite dapper. Looking quite dapper. Remove the highlighted comments. Yeah, he demands a recount. The God's Legion 9 says, capture Gumby. 1, 2, 3, 11. Okay. All right. And finally, for those that want to know what the heck a devilry is, here is a Lego version of the devilry. That is a devilry.
Interesting.
Built by Brick Planium. So, I love it. I am so happy I have that. It's in a place of honor on my mantle. So, all right. Okay, pod players, stick around for a quick 5 minutes after the stream. But I would like to thank all of you. This has been a great ride for the year. We brought All's Fair out to the open. I think people liked it. And if you want to hear the whole story, I do have a playlist dedicated to All's Fair, A Dolphin Wars Now. And so, Joe, you've been with this project since the very beginning. Thank you very much. It was amazing.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure to be able to help tell your story. It's very interesting.
Glad you liked it. Now you'll be able to buy it and read it at your leisure. Agent Pepsi 1, thank you very much. And we forgive you because we know about kids, those meddling kids.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And I hope we have you on for Peacemaker.
Yeah, I would like that.
Okay. And Max Redstone, thank you very much. You've done a man's work, an amazing man's work.
No problem.
Look forward to doing the next story. So, all right. I know this went long, so we will wrap it up. And take care, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you on Saturday for Just Cuz.